Hey, so I think there's a few talking points to be made about the latest unrest in Gaza. It's transpired that Hamas has actually claimed that 52 out of the approximately 60 people who died in the border unrest were Hamas operatives, and they have went so far as to actually name these people by name individually. That really is something, and I really think it should shame the likes of Jeremy Corbyn, who went out of their way to attack Israel and to criticize Israel. Of course, it doesn't make the same condemnation of Bashar al Assad, despite the fact Assad has killed tens of thousands of Syrians. Oh no. Then Corbyn takes a neutral stance or, won't say anything. But when it comes to Israel, this is pre this is predestined with Corbyn's ideology. The man is it really isn't surprising. But anyway, there's two videos I want to discuss. The first one shows a Palestinian man, and I should say both these videos are pro-Israel. I'm not going to lie; they're from pro-Israeli sources, so I'm not going to say they're neutral videos, but they do definitely give you something to think about. So one video shows a grown man with a Palestinian flag approaching an Israeli checkpoint or an Israeli unit. And these young IDF soldiers are standing there, they've got guns, and the the man brings a little boy, whether it's his son or his nephew, I don't know, but little boy can't be more than 3 years old. The little boy has a Palestinian flag, and he is encouraging this child, the man is encouraging this child to go up to the IDF soldiers and get shot. He's actually saying, go up and wave your flag to them, you know, go up. And he's actually goading the IDF soldiers to shoot him. Oh, you like shooting children? Shoot him, shoot him. This is absolutely disgusting. Put it this way, if the IDF are, as left wing sources would have you believe, children murdering monsters, then why wouldn't they do it? Now, you might say, oh, because there's cameras there, but put it this way, if they really are, if they enjoy killing civilians, or if that's what they do as a matter of principle, then why would any Palestinian parent risk that? What this really taps into is the death cult that pervades in the Gaza Strip. The fact of the matter is, Israel left there 12 years ago, and what has Hamas done? What has Palestinian and other influential groups in Palestine done in that time in the Palestinian territories? Have they invested money in children's education? Have they invested money in infrastructure? They've got billions in aid. What have they done with that? What have they done with that? They have used it to foster hatred in children, to brainwash children, to build tunnels, to fire over 15,000 rockets into Israel. Hamas and their kind do not want peace. That has to be understood. The reason the Palestinian people are living in misery is because of the decisions made by Hamas. And it's a tragedy because it doesn't have to be this way. When I was younger, I used to sort of take a view that, I used to look at it from not a numbers point of view, like far more Palestinians than Israelis die, therefore Israel must be the bad guys. But it isn't that simple. If it wasn't for the fact Israel had a very efficient military, if it wasn't for the fact that it had support from the United States, then it would be overrun. Make no mistake about it, that's what Hamas wants to do. I mean, there was footage of some guys actually breaking through the fence in this border unrest, and they were, they were celebrating being in their homeland, but they were also chanting about slitting the throats of Jews. This is the sort of mindset that Palestinians are taught from birth, basically. It's not just anti-Israel; it's anti-Jews in general. That's why left-wing Jews in America and Britain, in my opinion, are very, very naive. I've come across another video and it showed a group of Jewish people making a Kaddish. Now, I'm not a theologian. I understand a Kaddish is a sort of mourning prayer. And they actually read out the names of some of those killed, but they included the names of Hamas operatives, about 30 people. And they were saying things like, I am here because I am ashamed of Israel. I am here because as a Jew I have to speak out against Israel, etc. But I believe that there's this mindset among the left that puts a left wing worldview above religious identity. And I'm not saying they're not Jewish, but I just find it utterly astonishing that Jewish people would go out of their way to say prayers for a terrorist organization that would want them killed. You couldn't make it up. It's like a bit like some left wing gay people who go out of their way to say, oh, don't be Islamophobic, even though Islam, the record on gay rights is utterly appalling. It's utterly bizarre. But that is the worldview of the left. It's always about blaming Israel and America, no matter what the situation. Um, to be clear here, I don't take issue with left-leaning Jewish people having sympathy with the Palestinians. I don't even say they have to always agree with Israel. I don't slavishly agree with everything Israel does, and unlike some really, let's say it, ultra conservatives, I don't believe Israel, the IDF is always squeaky clean. I do believe they've done things that are very morally dubious. Um, but the fact of the matter is, what other country in the world would respond with patience when you have a mob of people, many of them terrorists, trying to storm an international border? What the hell is the IDF supposed to do? Anyway, at this Kaddish in central London, there was a woman got up and she interrupted and she said, I'm here to say shame on all of you. And she was attacking them for supporting Hamas. Towards the end, there was a guy who was kind of trying to debate with them in a very civil way. You didn't see him on camera, but he was saying he's nothing against them showing sympathy to the Palestinians, but it's the fact they were bringing Hamas names into the Kaddish. Then a guy interrupts towards the end, and he comes straight into. He is quite aggressive, to be honest. I don't entirely support that approach. However, I do understand his frustration. I basically yells at them and says, and shows them the news on his phone that Hamas has claimed that 52 of these people were their operatives, and they were, I don't want to use profanities in the video, but basically they were absolute idiots, and they were, well, I'll put a link to the video. You could judge for yourself, but there is an echo chamber with the left. Israel is evil, the Palestinians are innocent. That's their mindset, and they don't seem to, Jewish or non-Jewish. That is their mindset. I do find it very hard to understand why Jewish people in Britain or America would go out of their way to defend the likes of Hamas. Now, a girl, when this confrontation was going on, she would say, "Oh, we're not doing that." Oh, really? Well, what have you just been doing? So the guy was confrontation. He was very angry. But I can understand his frustration. He didn't assault anyone, but I definitely think there is. I also think segments of the media have been reporting, this is 50 Palestinians killed. I mean, I hope they amend this now. Even the Eye, to be fair, though, they did say Hamas claimed its fighters were there. Not that we're going to see Jeremy Corbyn retract his statement. But to me, this is unequivocal evidence that Corbyn is a terrorist sympathizer. If he does not retract that, if he does not condemn Hamas, Corbyn is a terrorist sympathizer. His apologists, his supporters could say what they want, but you go out your way to defend Hamas, you are by definition a terrorist sympathizer. And you know what's so frustrating about this situation is the Palestinians are suffering, but they don't need to. Millions, if not billions, has went to the Palestinian authorities. And how has it been spent? Building tunnels, brainwashing children, not giving them a brighter future, not educating them, not building hospitals. And it's all very well to point fingers at Israel, but what other country in the world is supposed to take 15,000 rocket attacks into its borders and do nothing? That's why a lot of outside criticism of Israel is very hypocritical. And I've seen the Chinese and Russians criticize Israel. I'd like to see how China responds to it. Well, we know how China responds to terrorist attacks. They go in and they kill the terrorists, whether it be in Xinjiang or elsewhere. And, China doesn't exactly discriminate between civilians and terrorists. Russia, how do they respond to the situation in Chechnya? As for the left in Britain and America, would our governments respond to a terrorist attack by doing nothing? I think not. So the criticism of Israel from many outside sources is profoundly hypocritical because it's putting Israel on a pendulum. It's expecting Israel to behave in a way that other countries wouldn't be expected to. And finally, the a major contention I have is this vilification of Israel. The same people have nothing to say about Bashar Assad or Arab dictators brutalizing their own people. Incidentally, it appears the situation has calmed down because Egypt has put pressure on Hamas, which is quite telling. But it just seems it's a never-ending cycle, and this cycle can end if Hamas simply renounces violence. They won't do that, so it's a very bleak situation because Israel cannot be expected to do nothing, and it's just I'll put a link to those videos, let you judge for yourself. But I think any Palestinian adult that would actually try to get their child killed to make them a martyr, don't tell me that is a loving parent. That is a death cult that pervades in the Gaza Strip, and it's poisonous, and it doesn't help anyone. In fact, it hurts the Palestinians arguably even more than the Israelis. And I think it's absolutely reprehensible. If they really do believe the IDF are child killers, why would they risk, encouraging their children to go up to IDF checkpoints? Think about that. Any left leaning people who watch this, if you really do believe the IDF are evil, then how can you condone a Palestinian parent actually doing that? They say, oh, these are desperate people who have been pushed to the edge. You know, desperate people would be trying to improve their future. They would be desperately trying to change the situation. But the only thing that matters is attacking Israel, and that's really the point of this. That's why it's a never ending cycle. I think it's just utterly tragic.